75 years ago, Larchmont did not have an organized Jewish community. Pearl Belchek wondered if there might be other Larchmont families who might want to join together. So one evening in June of 1948, Pearl invited families she knew to a meeting at her house at 125 Woodbine Avenue to find out. 60 people showed up, and less than 7 weeks later, the founding members of Larchmont Temple had their first organizational meeting. They appointed Rabbi Schofer. High Holy Day services were held at the American Legion Hall in Flint Park. 315 people gathered for the Kol Nidre service. There would be a journey that followed, which involved a building fund, annual fundraising dinner dances, and eventually breaking ground for a new synagogue at 75 Larchmont Avenue. Leonard Poehler became Larchmont Temple's senior rabbi in 1972 and held the position until 1994.
What came from him was the importance of maintaining and creating a community with integrity.
Religious school was roughly, 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. It was in one classroom. Hebrew school did not exist at that particular time because most of the Reform movement really was not into bar mitzvahs yet.
Meanwhile, in the late 60s, in Haverhill, Massachusetts, an aspiring pitcher and Boston Red Sox fan lived in a unique spot in the neighborhood.
When you grow up next door to the temple, this was a small town where there weren't a lot of Jews. Jews stick close together, and we lived next door, and I found my home there. I was involved in Young Judea, right, in Zionist youth movements. And at the end of that year, I became the president of New England Young Judea, 70 chapters around New England. The story of my life is right here, right? So this is Professor Wiesel. It was 77. I was at BU, and he was a young guy, and that was a primary influence on me. It was like being in the room with a prophet. And it was, a transformational class. And then I met Dr. Borowitz. And Dr. Eugene Borowitz, Rabbi Borowitz, was the master theologian of the Reform movement. And his theology, which became known as covenant theology, was, is my foundation. And I think Larchmont Temple's foundation.
After his studies at HUC in the U.S. and Israel, it was time for the young scholar to look for a job as an assistant rabbi.
By the middle of the end of 86, you're hearing about the congregations that are open. There were 2 positions open, one in Lexington, Massachusetts, one in Larchmont, New York. So I came here and, I was a kid, but like a kid in a candy shop.
Eventually, in 1994, Rabbi Poehler announced his retirement.
Bob, who had been president of the congregation, was asked to be the chair of the search committee. And thus began this very interesting dynamic of searching for a rabbi. Basically, everybody on the search committee just wanted Jeffrey. So it was kind of, shall we say, an inside job.
It was Academy Award night. I love watching any shows on TV, any award shows, my favorite. So we're watching at home with Susan and me, we're probably having some snacks, and Ed Marions calls and he said, "You just won Best Actor." I was a little visionary. And I wanted to create a covenant community, where everybody is sharing in the same mega contract. Covenants like, in sports terms, it's a lifetime, no-cut, eternal contract between God, the Jewish people, and you. And I also honed in on, listen, for 35 years plus, I've been teaching 7th grade, confirmation, 11th, 12th grade, Torah study every week. So I said, those are the things that are foundational to me.
So basically you go to religious school for a really long time since you're really little, and then eventually it starts becoming a bit more serious about the bat mitzvah sort of stuff. He just does a really good job putting ideas out for you because he sort of knows all the portions, which I can't imagine knowing, but he has so many materials for every different portion, and he just gives you everything that you might need to write a good drash.
And really helped both our girls focus, find the point of their parsha, love their parsha, and enjoy the day.
he's special, and that process was special, and it's something for us we'll never forget.
Whenever someone says to me, "It's amazing how you know my child so well," I just think, I learned that from Jeffrey Sirkman. You know how to really trust yourself to hear what's in that child's heart.
He called me on my birthday before confirmation started and said, "Just to make sure, you're definitely doing confirmation, right?" And I said, "Of course." And I love history, so I was very excited to finally come in and learn more about Jewish history and Jewish thinkers. He takes a hands-on approach with teaching kids about a subject we've never learned before, Jewish thinkers. We learn about Chinese thinkers, Confucius. We learn about Italian thinkers, Machiavelli. But I've never learned about Rambam or Buber or Philo before, but Rabbi did a great job of getting us really engaged in a Jewish curriculum.
I created a curriculum, you know, it's like a camp curriculum, except it's with Jewish thinkers about God over 3,000 years. That's still my curriculum for confirmation. I have 26, 27 confirmation kids, 10th graders who come every week, you know, to be in confirmation. I got 24 post-confirmants that come to the diner every week. Go figure. It's all complete. We've got everything we need.
Every Saturday, congregants and special guests gather for Hevra, a very special Torah study.
I guess the meaning of the Saturday sessions keeps you aware of the relevance of Judaism, really, in our lives. That the ancient texts still speak to us, the values that he draws from that text still speak to us, and it really enables you to have a stronger relationship to Judaism.
We can learn a lot from what we don't do and who we're not, about who we are. So, you know, it's a natural for me to connect with Bishop Powell.
Over 30 years, we really have developed what I call a very strong, personal, intimate relationship. Our communities have really come together, and it's just a joy to see it.
Going to San Antonio, I wanted to recreate that Luther King weekend experience for myself, and watching him create a relationship with Bishop Wayne Powell really inspired me to create a relationship with a pastor in San Antonio. And when I brought it to the synagogue, they're like, "This is amazing. Where did this come from?" And I was like, well, this is what we did when I was in New York, and I figured we should probably do it here too.
Larchmont Temple is growing. You know, I don't know how many households we are. Somebody told me we're 860. Great. Numbers don't matter. No matter how big we get, the goal is to think small. They walk in and we know your name. We know your story. You're somebody. This is your home. Whatever's going on, you can share it. You got a seat in the sanctuary, you got a place at the table, right? So that's the goal. So we want to continue to be who we are. The times will change. Our connection to Israel remains solid. We'll be supporters of the Zionist dream. We're not there yet. We got a lot of work to do. We'll continue to be a place where Torah is alive, where we are creative in the way we learn and innovative in the way we do things. We'll be welcoming and outreaching. We'll work on the world. We'll try to make the world better. And we'll continue to do that. But we don't want to lose who we are, which is a covenant community connected in common care and common cause through the relationship we share. That's the future.